Hi, my name is Alan McDowell, inventor and owner of Memory Programs. Today I'll be demonstrating and explaining the new Augment Filer demo concept to counter false and malicious reports transferred to police departments and filed with medical mental health agencies, and used to counter mental health malpractice when an individual is detained in a medical facility. In order to demo how the Augment Filer concept would work for evaluating a false report, I'm providing a real false report written by the office of Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rodgers, filed on my personal medical files. The false and misleading information was obtained by the Spokane Police Department and transferred into private healthcare documents at FBH, the largest mental health provider in Spokane County, without my knowledge. This document enclosed in the slideshow is being released by myself into public record for educational purposes and to defend my real statements and the happenings in the office visits. This false report pertains to political disagreement with intent to discredit an opposing political view that's in opposition of current funding by the pharmaceutical and mental health field for the Congresswoman's office. Other types of false reports that unconstitutionally detain citizens against will without laws broken may be family conflicts, family religious conflicts, business and office conflicts, family business conflicts, cultural conflicts, family cultural conflicts, political differences such as those within a family. Another form of misreporting may come directly from the medical field itself, which includes environment. An individual may have behaviors of a mental disorder due to their current environment, which is most commonly induced by mental health facilities for a desired diagnosis the industry workers are looking for. Counter-reporting after illegal drug use and being detained is very important. Behaviors that are induced by the drugs themselves and the chemical withdrawal symptoms the user exhibits are commonly used to misdiagnose a citizen detained as having a co-occurring disorder. Most all diagnoses are listed as 6-month to 1-year behaviors, and clients are rarely ever given a non-pharmaceutical therapy that would scientifically prove an individual has or doesn't have a diagnosis. Counter-reporting is also needed for wrongful diagnosis during chemical withdrawal from pharmaceutical mental health drugs forced on the citizen. Being forced on a pharmaceutical drug against will under a false diagnosis can lead to behaviors of the diagnosis when chemically withdrawing off the prescribed drug. The brain becomes chemically dependent on the drug, and behaviors such as delusions, mania, depression, and attention deficit will be seen during withdrawal, which provides a false diagnosis such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and attention deficit on diagnosis. Counter reports are needed to counter the false reports of the symptoms being normal behaviors, which are in truth withdrawal symptoms. Seeing an entire file in its entirety without assistive technology with malicious reporting created by an industry profiting off false reports will do psychological damage to the individual detained. When an individual sees a report with intent to do harm, has false information, misexplains a situation, or describes something truthful but negatively about that individual, the emotions and behaviors stemming as a result from seeing the document may be anger, frustration, rage, aggression, depression. All emotions and behaviors will be written as symptoms of a diagnosis on reports when the individual is in detainment. Not being provided any documents in medical mental health detainment with no explanation for detainment normally results in confusion, paranoia, and rapid thought processes, which will be diagnosed. Staffs normally provide little to no therapy in the beginning, and those detained receive no processes for disseminating information that place them in detainment, such as timetable worksheets to provide order to events and create solid structure to statements that would make events understandable to doctors. Medical workers develop preconceived notions about all individuals detained and segregate themselves and their conversations away from clientele, only charting behaviors in the unit or placement of the resident and writing up any individual for joining a personal worker conversation, normally pertaining to non-medical out-of-work recreation and family events. This behavior by workers demotes those individuals detained to lesser value, with damaging consequences resulting in those detained experiencing depression and sometimes rage to obtain information and explanation from workers. Here's what the Augment Filer does. It breaks down one line at a time for comprehension of each detail in an incident report. Shading options for each line comprehended with color options representing a description of beliefs about the statement. Calculation tallied to provide word counts of each statement describing beliefs. Percentages of opinions on statements showing true, false, misleading, and other labels on opinions of statements. The allowance of information to be sent back to the police department and hospital to describe workers' accurate or inaccurate reporting. Prevents false detainments on malicious grounds and incidences of misinformation. The Augment Filer breaks down one line in an incident report at a time to lessen the distraction and stress of looking at the entire document. This process assists the reader for easy reading of each statement. After reading the statement, the user is given multiple buttons to choose from that describe the statement read. The user touches the button of choice on screen. In this instance, the user touches the True button. The user touches the statement with his or her index finger and drags their finger across the statement to highlight. When completed highlighting and the decision is made that the next words describe a different statement, the user stops highlighting. The user now touches another button describing the next statement on the tablet, then slides their index finger across the new statement until finished. Here are more examples. The importance of coloring information is 1. Provide citizen detained validation of his or her accounts. 2. Lessens distraction of multiple lines for concentration on one detail at a time for higher levels of interpretation. 3. Adds validation that the citizen has been listened to for the prevention of behaviors that result in retaliation. Word counts are tallied for all statements highlighted. The first line provides an all words count. The second line totals words for true statements. The third totals words for false statements. The fourth line totals words for misleading statements. The fifth totals words on all illegal documents accusations, and the sixth totals words for personal statements. This is a final Augment Filer prospectus with word counts provided of all information highlighted by the opinion of the user. Percentages are provided at the left, and all information to be sent back to the medical field, criminal justice system, and police department. Statistics of citizen accounts will be tallied to describe right or wrongdoing by the individuals working in the police or medical field for future corrections to on-job performance, behavior, and to create better statistics. Here is the statements by user, which is a summary of the Augment Filer report. It's an opinion by the user, which is myself, that 48.73% of the Kathy McMorris Rogers office document was false and misleading. 17.77% of the document was personal statements made by the officer that was mostly based on the 48.73% of information that was false and misleading. Another 8.12% of the document was based on belief that there was an attempt on illegal documents from the interpretation of voice tone and statements made by the MHP. Here are some rebuttal statements made by the user. No statements to not call until notice given. No statement of trespassing from building. Blabbering was a deliberate false statement by the office. Question was asked in a timely manner for information on defense contractors with ability to analyze, photograph, and graphic design companies were given as reference. Most all office visits lasted no more than 1 minute. Only one visit lasted longer because office manager engaged in conversation. Here are some more statements by the user. There were no calls made to Spokane office by individual. 2 calls were made to DC office for an FOI request and a request for information on contact info for PAC. No personal statements made to not use office for federal government questions, and no statements made of interest in retaining gun rights. Statement was on the misuse of gun questioning through malpractice. Here is the last statement by the user, showing a conflict of interest. There was a statement made by the office manager to go after a bad drug instead of taking on the entire industry in his derogatory manner. This was the last statement made by the office manager.